Yeah, so by way of introduction, so I'm Michael, as mentioned, I'm CEO of Generation in the UK and Ireland. Generation are a global network of not-for-profits. Our focus is to train people to help them into jobs that otherwise would probably be inaccessible to them. So our learners are people that are facing barriers or other forms of adversity. And we target sectors where we see opportunities to help large numbers of people into jobs because the industry need is not being met. And in a second, I'll introduce a couple of people from InfinityWorks I'm delighted to be joined with today. But I'll just give a few minutes of context before doing so, and then we'll dive into the reality of how programs like this can run. So first of all, on the digital skills gap, we read about it almost every week in the papers, and it could be a big constraint for the UK. But that challenge represents an absolutely enormous opportunity. There was a recent report put together by LinkedIn and Microsoft that pointed to a need of 3 million new technology jobs by 2025. To put that into context, there are currently 2.6 million people receiving job seekers allowance or universal credit. That number is about double what it was before the pandemic. It's obviously not a one-to-one mapping between unemployed people and these new job opportunities, but it puts that volume of new jobs into perspective. 3 million new jobs can make a significant dent in unemployment, but also in social mobility. So it's a really exciting opportunity and something which we have very proactively targeted for the last few years in Generation UK and Ireland. And just to give a bit of an overview over what the existing skilling provision is in the country to try and contribute to that 3 million new jobs that are being created. And I'll talk through three elements. One is the traditional education system, the second is apprenticeships, and then the third is boot camps, where we'll spend a bit more time talking. So the first on universities and colleges and the higher education system, they have an important role to play, but they absolutely are not sufficient to meet that need of 3 million. Again, to put some numbers into context, there are about 30,000 computer science graduates each year. There are about 50,000 graduates in engineering and technology, about 10,000 in maths. So that's not enough coming off the conveyor belt to fill these roles. Plus the university system does have its limitations and it's not for everyone. It's an increasingly well-publicized fact that computer science graduates have one of the lowest rates of employment 6 months post-completion of their course than any other course. In the context of a large UK digital skills gap, clearly something's not working there. There's a gap between what the people are being trained in versus what industry needs. The university system also has some challenges on diversity, whether that's socio-economic or still on gender. 15% of graduates in STEM are female, far too low. So the university system will always be a really important part of it, but it's absolutely not sufficient to meet the UK industry needs for digital skills. Second key channel is apprenticeships, which is a really exciting space. It was revamped by the government in 2015, and after a bit of resettling where the numbers dipped, it's now starting to grow again quite quickly. So there was about 320,000 apprenticeship starts last year, and there has been a shift towards tech. So traditionally apprenticeships were on other sectors, more skilled trades, but there has been a big shift towards tech. And for example, the data framework is one of the fastest growing apprenticeships in the country. And there are some great providers in the UK at delivering apprenticeships for great clients. Some of them are talking here today at CogX. Apprenticeships also have fewer barriers, the university system. There are no fees. So we'd love to see more of that. But when you look at the numbers, again, it's not going to be sufficient. There needs to be other channels that are making a contribution to train people up to meet this absolutely massive industry need. So the third stream that we're going to spend a lot more time talking about is boot camps. And it's already an important part of the system, and it is growing rapidly. And by boot camps, what we typically mean are short, intensive training programs. Are typically in the range of 2 to 4 months long, and they're focused on specific roles. They're getting people job ready in a target set of specific roles. It might be software engineering, it might be cloud engineering or data engineering, but the scope is to go quite deep within that, say, 12 weeks to get people ready. One of the benefits of these programs is that they can also adapt pretty quickly to industry need. Cloud computing, for example, is only 10 to 15 years old. It's already become enormous, but it's still evolving rapidly. The higher education systems have not kept up with that rate of change, whereas it is feasible to create boot camps around specific industry needs like cloud computing pretty quickly. So that's the boot camp space. There's a growing set of players in the space. There's some private sector players. There are also some third sector players, such as Generation, who obviously come to the table with a social agenda as well as meeting employers' needs. Interesting, perhaps, also to note that the UK Department for Education is now making a specific funding provision for boot camps, particularly in the digital space. That was probably unthinkable about 5 years ago, but now it's becoming mainstream. So I think we're expecting lots and lots of growth in this space in the years to come. To put into context, using US example, who are probably a little bit further ahead of us in terms of adoption of boot camps, but not that far ahead. I think the UK has been on the leading edge of the curve. About 65,000 people in the US will start boot camps this year, and the majority of them are in tech roles. So that just, hopefully gives a bit of useful context over the skilling provision in the UK, trying to prepare people to support this need of 3 million new jobs. And to explore this in a bit more detail, I'm delighted to be joined by Natalie and Chenyse from InfinityWorks. Some people might not be familiar with InfinityWorks, but just to give a brief introduction to them, they're a really fantastic success story in UK tech, founded in 2012 in Leeds. I love one of the stories that the founders tells of when they were first formed. It was like they were 3 or 4 people in the back of a van, a bit like the A-Team, stopping off at different client sites to fix their DevOps challenges. Wonderful scenario. But from those beginnings, it's grown to become a wonderful organization with over 400 staff, was growing rapidly even during the pandemic, client list to die for, was recently acquired by Accenture, and is continuing to grow. We began talking to InfinityWorks as they were recruiting from our existing programs, but we were excited about the opportunity to innovate and launch new programs. And so collaboratively, we launched a new program in data engineering, which was a first of its kind in the UK. In the space that they're in, InfinityWorks obviously have a very good view on the digital skills gap, because they're servicing clients who are trying to do things on digital space, which is probably beyond their current capacity. So if we could bring Chenyse and Natalie up to the stage, that would be great. And Chenyse, hi. Chenyse, Natalie, would you guys mind just giving a quick introduction, and then we can jump into some questions?
Yeah, great. I'll jump in. So I'm Natalie Lovett. I'm one of the directors of InfinityWorks. And I think our marketing spiel has come on somewhat since the A-Team van driving around Leeds with a DevOps hit squad. But, it's really nice to be reminded of where we've come from. I think, today we'd explain it that we help our customers digitally transform. And we do that through helping them build and make the right technology choices. I'm one of our head office directors at the moment. And probably more interesting fact about me is I'm actually a career changer. So I've only worked in technology for 6 years myself, and didn't come in through a traditional route. Prior to being in technology, I worked for West Yorkshire Police as an officer. And naturally, I'm just really passionate about how we can encourage more people into the sector, get that talent that we all know that we need, and how we can give people the right support and development opportunities throughout their career. So that's me. Over to you, Chenyse.
Thanks, Natalie. Hello, everyone. My name is Chenyse Semper, and I'm right at the beginning of my tech career. I'm an associate consultant at InfinityWorks, and previously to join InfinityWorks, I actually was on one of the Generation boot camps specifically designed for data engineering. So it has been a really interesting journey so far.
Great, thanks, Chenyse. So to kick us off, Natalie, maybe just if you could share InfinityWorks' perspective on this topic of the digital skills gap in the UK.
Yeah, I mean, it is a great topic. I suppose we work with a lot of customers who really struggle to hire the permanent staff that they need in order to develop and run their own technology. And we see that particularly in engineering roles. That's full stack development, mobile, data, as you've mentioned, is a prime skill that's in shortage, and test as well. And And I think if you looked at the websites of any of our customers, you would see this constant stream of open vacancies for them trying to hire these skills into their companies. But this isn't a new scenario we find ourselves in. The market's been like this for an awful long time, especially, you know, in the time that I've been part of the tech industry and far before then as well. We just can't keep up with the demand that companies had for, you know, digital roles. And largely that's because every company these days is a technology company. The things that they want to achieve, their strategies, their ambitions is driven by their technology. So they have to think differently about the sorts of skills that they want to hire in to accelerate that side of the business for them. Ourselves as a professional services company, you know, we're looking to hire the same sorts of people from the same pools essentially. And we've come up against the same skills shortages. You know, we've grown to 500 people in about 7 years. And in order to do that, you know, we've had to really think differently about how we attract, how we retain talent, and also what that definition of talent is and how we're prepared to invest in the right people in order to grow our team. And we would actively encourage our customers to do the same as well.
Great. And could you talk through some of those channels that InfinityWorks have used? I think many people listening will probably be hiring managers that have suffered this problem. So yeah, useful just to hear some of the channels or tactics that you've used to find people.
Well, absolutely everything, I think, would be the underline to that. You know, we've done recruitment fairs. We regularly do those, and we still do those with universities. Today, obviously, they've all moved online, which has still continued to prove to be a success for us. We have a direct hiring team who proactively go out and search for talent in the market. We do work with some agencies, referrals, you know, getting referrals from the staff that we've already hired for people that they might have worked with previously has been a fantastic success for us. Apprenticeships, the boot camp relationships we've got with Generation. And then we also provide internal opportunities for people to cross-train into different disciplines, which is, you know, our strategy is to hire sort of T-shaped people who can have a breadth of skills and a specialism as well. So we give people those opportunities. And then we've also developed our own internal academy, which is about a 12-week boot camp. It's not specifically focused on data like Generation, but it's on, you know, the more broad engineering skills, full stack development, test, front-end development, mobile. It encompasses all of those things into about the 12 weeks. So yeah, we've really tried everything, and there's not one secret to success. Each of those routes will bring you different sorts of people, and I think it's the variety actually that generates the overall success of getting you to the hiring position you want to be in. Amazing.
And so Chenyse, so you went through one of these boot camps. We're very proud for you to be part of the alumni community, and now you're in this amazing role with this super successful company. Could you just give everyone a bit of a feel for just your journey up to the point at which you joined InfinityWorks?
Sure, no problem. So I would definitely describe my journey into tech as, I suppose, non-traditional, similarly to what Natalie would have mentioned earlier. So before the bootcamp, I worked in marketing, I worked in sales, I worked in recruitment, I worked in HR. And in the middle of all these different career options, I hadn't considered a tech career for different reasons. I thought that, you know, to get your foot in the door, you probably needed a computer science degree as a prerequisite. I thought you probably had to be naturally gifted at computers or to be a math whiz, and I was neither of those two things. I knew that I had an interest in data. So as I was searching, I applied to do my postgraduate degree in data analysis. And then as I was looking for opportunities in the data space, I basically stumbled upon the opportunity to do this intensive course in data engineering with Generation. And during that 12-week period, the focus was on, you know, introducing and practicing, reinforcing skills that I would have needed to enter into the tech sector. And one of the things I really enjoyed about that course was that at the end of it, you know, the support didn't just stop. So post-program, I actually was assigned a mentor to help me with, you know, technical interviews and just interviews that I would not have done before. And IW, so InfinityWorks, was actually my first interview after the course, and they offered me a role. So I've been at InfinityWorks for about 5 months now, and the journey is just continuing still.
Amazing. And those points that you make around what might sound like small barriers to stop you identifying the opportunity, we hear those all the time. I think they're very real, and there's common misperceptions at this point around you need a computer science degree or you need an A in maths at A level to be able to get into tech. We hear that week in, week out. So it's so frustrating because there's this huge latent pool of talent of people that are well suited to these careers, but you just need to address those misperceptions and help you identify these opportunities. So yeah, I think that's a wide ranging point. Cool. And Chenyse, could you confidentiality laws around, I'm not sure how much you can tell us about the types of work, the types of projects you're doing at the moment, but I think that would be really interesting to hear about how your first few months have been. Okay.
So right now, as I said, I'm an associate consultant with InfinityWorks, but my current project is a part of the Sainsbury's Bank data science team. And my role within that team is mostly data engineering. So I deal with more the infrastructure and designing pipelines. But I get to work with amazing data scientists who are actually math whizzes. So I just get to soak up all the knowledge through them. Before this project, so when I initially joined InfinityWorks, I joined as part of the InfinityWorks Academy. And basically the academy is just 3 months of full stack engineering and consultancy training. And so I was able to build on the skills that was introduced at the bootcamp, and then I was introduced to even a lot more skills.
Amazing. That sounds incredible. And then just a bit more time on the bootcamp. It'd be great just to hear a bit more about what was involved in the 12 weeks. Do you feel like it prepared you for the role? And also maybe sharing some experiences of your fellow learners. You would have been trained in a group of 20 to 25 people. It'd be interesting maybe for the audience to know the types of roles that those people went on to as well.
Okay. So yes, 100%. I think that the data engineering course helped to prepare me for the role I'm currently in. So before doing that course, the course actually was my introduction to the tech space. I had not worked in any sort of tech related field before that. And so on this course, I was introduced to, a tech stack, worked with Python, which is the language that I'm currently using. I was introduced to, AWS cloud computing and other relevant data analysis tools. We were introduced to ways of working that are really popular in tech companies. And then we also worked on a project and it was very, collaborative. So it was a simulated exercise, but it mirrored as well as it could, I suppose, the real life experience of working within a team in an agile way to deploy an application before a deadline. And I think the other persons who are on the course would agree that it definitely prepared them for the roles that they're in. So I think at least 4 of them have gone on into data roles, so either as data engineers or data analysts. I know at least 3 have gone on to technical roles. So I know 1 is working as a technical associate and 2 joined the InfinityWorks Academy. I do know there are others who have gone into jobs in non-technical roles, but even then, I'm sure they would say that, the things that we learned on that course would definitely help in whichever role you decided to go into.
Amazing. And is there something that stands out in your memory of the program? Was there a favorite part or a key moment or a key learning?
I think my favorite part of this course was just meeting everyone. So it was at least 20 persons who were on this course, and we all came from different backgrounds. Some persons had masters, others didn't have a degree at all. Some persons went through the computer science route. Others, their background was like biology. And in spite of all of us coming from such varying backgrounds, we had a similar goal, and that was just to upskill ourselves and learn as much as we could in this tech space. And because of that goal, we were able to work really, really well together. We developed great bonds, and even up to today, if I have an issue with something, I know I can talk to someone who was on that course with me, and we can help each other out. So it's been really good just to meet this set of people.
Amazing, thank you, Chenyse. And so maybe just to draw some lines between what we're hearing here from InfinityWorks and what we see on a more broad picture across UK tech employers. This picture of there is a shortage, and if you're trying to grow a tech team, you feel the pain of that shortage very, very acutely. And unfortunately, it's probably going to get worse. The demand for tech skills is growing faster than the provision. And so the points Natalie was making is like, we need to throw the kitchen sink at this and try every trick, every tactic, I think is the common view, the common understanding of trying to address it. But things are changing, and people are starting to adopt a wider scale these new, more innovative models. And I think it's become particularly viable now that certain technology teams have got big enough. When you're a small tech team, you typically might be hiring mids and seniors, but as your team gets larger, you form this pyramid shape with seniors at the top, mids in the middle, and a junior layer. And the junior layer is just absolutely critical for the long-term success of your organization. And when a tech team has got to the point that it has that shape, then there is capacity and a need to bring people in at that entry level. And it is just a fundamental requirement to hit the 5 or 10 year goals of growing the organization, to be recruiting at that entry level rather than just trying to be in a war for talent at mids and seniors, which gets very expensive very quickly. So I think that's what we're seeing, particularly in spaces like cloud, software, and data, which have now got significant, and we'll see it soon in cyber and other parts of the tech space. The other thing that we hear a lot from employers is that they really need people to be hungry, that they want people that are in the mindset to learn. And so on boot camps, we have the opportunity to make enough space to talk about those as well as the technical skills training. So mindsets and behaviors are absolutely critical. So so those are elements of the program. And the other thing that I would just reference in terms of what we're hearing from employers, particularly over the past year, is the importance of diversity. Black Lives Matter movement was a fundamental shift over a year ago. And with COVID and the impact of COVID on society, that is not going to fall evenly. And so I think there's a growing awareness and conviction from employers that to build back better, which is a phrase that's thrown around a lot, there is a need to look at different ways of recruiting people from different backgrounds and widen access to these amazing jobs which we're talking about, which are high skill and high salary. These are opportunities for people to jump into the top half of UK learners immediately. And so for someone that's facing unemployment, that is immediately life-changing. So hopefully that's useful just as just some context of the types of messages that I think we hear commonly from employers. Natalie, back to you. It may be useful for people to hear a little bit about how you think employers could prepare to take on programs, take on people from programs like this, where there's a entry-level need.
Yeah, that's a really practical question, I think, for how people can realistically gear up for bringing people on board. I think most importantly, someone needs to own the relationship in your organisation with the partners, such as Generation or the other bootcamp providers. And that's because it's important to realise these are two-way relationships. The bootcamp providers need to know what's important in industry and what skills we're looking for people to come with. And also, we want to help inform how many people that Generation, for example, could train themselves, so that we can make sure we've got that steady stream of the right people coming in. I think, when you've made that decision to take someone on, work out how you can give those people a great experience. But that great experience starts from before day one these days. So, how can you meet them, take an interest in how they're progressing in the boot camp, answer any early questions and get them really excited about joining your organisation. Once they've joined, thinking around how you give them that great onboarding experience, lots of support, a mentor, a coach. There might be some relevant reading that would help accelerate them in the learning as well. So have a good think about things like that. And then ensuring that they're landing into a team where they're supported to be successful from day one. So I think, just as you mentioned, Michael, that sort of pyramid of teams as companies get bigger, not all vacancies across your organisation will be suitable for people who've come from a bootcamp perspective. So have a real think around, which are going to be the best positions for those individuals. Where are they going to be well supported, developed? We've got over 30 customers at InfinityWorks. Now, we wouldn't place bootcamp people who've come from boot camps initially into those positions from day one across all customers, we'd look for the best opportunities across our accounts to make those successful placements. And then lastly, I think the thing I'd suggest is have a view of how you see people progressing in these roles. So, you know, for example, we'll have a view of where we'd love Chenyse to be in 6 months' time, where we'd like her to be in 12 months' time, but we have to commit to helping her get there as well. So that training doesn't stop at day one on an account or, you know, landing into a company. It continues, and we're committed to helping continue her learning and all the people that we bring on through this route as well.
Amazing. Thanks, Natalie. And for anyone listening, so we're going to do one more question, but then we do have a little bit of time to turn to questions. So if anyone does have a question for anyone on the panel, then please do chuck it into the chat, and I think that would be interesting to explore that. So last question, Chenyse, maybe we can come to you first, is just looking ahead, just things that you're excited about. What would you like to see more of in the years to come?
I definitely would like to see, I suppose, a more diverse tech sector. So I know that race and gender are things that are talked about, and I know there is work to make the tech sector, you know, more gender diverse and more racially diverse, but also just diversity in background. I think it's important to have persons who have come from a variety of different ways into the space, so we're not all thinking in the same way, and we're able to take advantage of different ways of thinking, different ways of working. I know we're already seeing barriers being broken down as new routes are provided to give wider accessibility, and that's great. I'd just love to see more of that.
Thank you. And Natalie?
I mean, Chenyse summed it up perfectly there, didn't she? It's going to be hard to top that. So I'm just going to say I agree with absolutely everything you just said there. And I think to add to that, it would be thinking about, you know, my own background as a career changer. I would love to see the industry further recognising the skills of career changers and really valuing the experience that they might have had in a previous career, because we know, just back to that diversity point, great technical skills does not make, you know, a great individual alone. There are so many more skills to consider. We want people to be fabulous team players. You know, we want them to have analytical thinking. There's lots of different elements to it. So I would just love to see more emphasis on some of those aspects of people's skill sets, I think. Great,
thank you. And if I can throw in my 2p, I think, you know, as many of these sessions at CogX are showing, I think the overarching space of technology is just incredibly exciting. And so for anyone listening that is thinking about whether this is a sector to get into, if that has sparked your interest, I think all of us would wholeheartedly encourage you to explore it, because the tech space is incredibly exciting, and the pace of advancement is exhilarating. I was at a session yesterday where people were talking about things which just were not possible 3 or 4 years ago. And one way to think about it is the pace of change is accelerating. So what that means that actually what we're feeling now in terms of pace of change is actually going to feel very, very slow relative to what it's going to be like in 5 years' time. Like, that's a scary / exhilarating thought, right? But that has got implications for the demand for talent. And until the supply chain catches up with this demand, there's going to be an imbalance. So organizations really do need to get on the front foot to think about their skill challenges of tomorrow. So I think, yeah, the tech space is super, super exciting, and absolutely should be explored by people who've even got the faintest interest in whether it could be something for you. It doesn't matter if you did computer science, it didn't matter what your math skills are, explore it. And the opportunity for training programs is large. The opportunity to build back better and to widen access and to make a meaningful dent in social mobility, which in the UK has been going backwards for 20 years rather than going forward, is here. It is in our hands because of the size of this digital skills gap and the need for 3 million jobs by 2025. So that's quite a rare opportunity, but a significant opportunity. Yeah, I think that's, you're looking forward, just the excitement of things that are going to happen in technology, but just the opportunity for us to make really meaningful inroads into widening access and helping people into high-skilled jobs is incredibly exciting. Okay, I'm just scanning through. I'm not sure if the compere is able to feed through questions. Are there any on the list, or should we wrap up there? Okay, great. One's just come through. So I'll read this out, and then whoever feels like they are well placed to answer it, shoot. Do you think boot camps are useful for entry-level roles, or can they be utilized for advancement within companies, or even for non-tech managerial positions, perhaps? So I think that's, exploring the reskilling space, as well as, even if it's not a fully 100% tech role, is there a room for, or a requirement for, technology to become part of people in other roles where, as I say, it's not 100% tech? Natalie, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think there is, and I think this is the next step in terms of what we need to look at. So I guess from an Infinity Works perspective, we've been really good at utilising these routes in for our technical roles. The challenge is how we extend that to, first of all, roles which are less technical, hands-on, but then also how we can use these sort of short boot camp opportunities to maybe help staff who need a bit more focus in a particular area, or might be going onto an account where they need a different skill set coming up. So I think that is where we need to get to start using the boot camps in slightly different ways. Yeah,
and for our part, so Generation was founded as a not-for-profit focusing on youth unemployment in 2015, but it became really apparent 2 or 3 years in that the societal impact of redundancy in sectors, often due to automation or advancement in technology, was going to become as big a societal problem as unemployment. And so we actively took the decision to support the reskilling agenda, and we see it just as important as supporting unemployed people. And I think may even grow faster. And we're seeing this in the UK today. I mean, it's almost every week there was news stories about organizations in sectors like retail or financial services, where large parts of their workforce are at risk. As technology advances and there is scope to automate things, there's parts of those organizations which are going to become smaller, and those are thousands or tens of thousands of jobs. But we're also seeing that as very proactive steps by those organizations who have a duty of care, as well as looking after the P&L, to support people into the growing parts of their organization, which often is the tech side of their business. So to take someone, and there are programs running like this across the UK, to take someone that's working in a distribution center, for example, and to train them in tech. That is happening. To take people that are working front of shop in retail or hospitality and taking them into the digital teams of those organizations, that's happening. Likewise in manufacturing, where the tech side and the tech element is growing significantly. So I think it's a really great question, and for society, I think this is a very, very important question of how do you take people who are currently in roles which are at risk and support them on the next chapter of their career. So yeah, thank you for that question.
I think that's what, when I mentioned earlier about how we can value the skills of career changes, I think that this plays entirely into it. So if I think about my own journey in technology, for example, I wasn't, I didn't get a job in technology because I was great at tech. I was really, really junior in tech at the time. I didn't have any experience at all. I was hired for the skills that I learned when I was in the police, which was largely in, how to talk to people, how to deal with difficult situations, how to make peace. It was that softer skill set side which helped enable my career. And I think, just what you said, think about those people who might work in, say, the hospitality industry, front of house type roles, and really naturally going to have that gift of being able to talk to people in fabulous ways, where you can just imagine them working with the technical team and them being able to bring them together and, to get a project successfully delivered. You can just see it. So I just think, more of that to come, hopefully, over the next 5 years.
Absolutely. The question field has started to populate, so maybe we can do one more. So there's a question around what psychometrics, if any, are you using to assess candidates' real or potential on the job impact or contributions? Shall I do first pass at that, and then Chenyse and Natalie, please do jump in. I think we've got 3 or 4 minutes left. So we actually use psychometrics at a couple of different stages in the process. We actually use them quite extensively at the start of the process to identify people that are well suited intrinsically to these careers in tech. We do not look at their academic track record, because often that's one of the barriers that people face. But we do map out what's the starting level, what's this intrinsic set of skills that people need to be good at and interested in to become great as a data engineer, for example. So we do that at the start of the funnel as part of the selection process. When it comes to assessing their on-the-job impact and contribution, so some of the statistics which we track are job retention and progression, which for our programs is typically 90% plus of people still in job after 1 year. As a charity, our goal is to help people to land and then thrive, not just to be placed into short-term employment. So those are some of the metrics that we track. We also track personal and financial well-being. And for people who are moving out of employment, often with dependents, for example, the shift to being fully financial independent and with clear purpose is enormous. And so we place great value on that feedback that we get on personal well-being. I don't know if at Infinity Works, do you have an assessment mechanism for performance and contribution as people's tenure grows within the organization?
We've got typically a set of core skills that we look to assess people's progress against, and also specialism in profession. So we look to assess those kind of 2 areas. So your core skills might be things like your analytical thinking, your consultancy skills, how you work in a team, and then your specialism in performance might be, as a data engineer, how you're performing in that field, as a delivery manager, how you're performing in that field. So we look to help people progress in their careers by assessing them in those areas and giving them advice and pointers for how they can continue to grow, really. Got it.
And Chenyse, have you got your eyes on specific specialisms?
Right now, I'm in the data engineering space, and I've enjoyed it so far. So I think, especially knowing that there's a need for it, I think that's something that I want to continue working towards.
Great. Well, thank you both for your time. I think we're at time. So massive thanks to CogS for giving us a platform and for all the partnership and collaboration from Infinity Works. It's a really inspiring organization, doing great things on lots and lots of fronts. And you both are, your own stories are inspiring themselves. So thank you for joining us on the stage, and thank you for everyone that was listening in.